Nine-man volleyball. If you haven't heard about this, this is the most inclusive and accessible volleyball that you can get in Ontario. The history of this tournament is 40 years old. In North America, the sport has been played for over 75 years. If you don't know what nine-man is, you could either go check out a tournament or check out this video.
The sport of nine-man originated in a place called Toisan in China. It's a province it's a area in a province of Canton. Volleyball was brought there after the Second World War, and when a lot of immigrants came over during the 50s and 60s, it was the only way to stay social. So a lot of people who worked in laundromats down in the States, in Boston and New York and Toronto, they would just put a string up in the middle of laneways and start playing. And since this was the original version of the sport that was introduced to Toisan, it sort of just stayed that way.
I always like to describe it as a cultural sport more than anything else. It's an opportunity for those who are North American Chinese or North American Asian to really embrace the culture that they didn't get to experience growing up, and get to know one another too that have gone through similar, prejudice growing up as well.
So I was actually at an OVA tournament, and Hojin, our club director, came up to us and he was like, hey, there's this cool thing called nine-man, and he got me interested in it. My second cousin played for it, so I've watched it before, just never was involved in it. But he came up to my parents first and then talked to me about it because he saw me play a little bit. He saw that I was Asian and Chinese, so that was a good one for nine-man, and that's how I started when I was 12.
Indoor volleyball is a very regulated community and a very regulated game, and out here you can see the conditions are not always so perfect. You don't know if there's going to be rain, wind, or sun or anything like that, and the community is much more supportive and it's a lot more relaxed, so it feels much more tight-knit.
Yeah, there's no money involved, but when you win, it certainly feels like you won $1 million. They get into it. At the end of the day, I like to call it street ball, right? And yeah, there's a lot of respect to the sport, but it's just like street ball. You get your arguing, everyone's self-reffing. There's a lot of history behind it too, right? So people who've played this game for a long time, they've been around, right? And you get little kids playing against full-grown men sometimes, and yeah, it gets trippy out there.
This is an open tournament for the community, and you'll see teams with young junior teams who are playing against senior athletes. So you have the opportunity to compete with maybe some of the players that you look up to, some of the top players here. So you have a chance not just to be a fan, but to be able to participate.